Hey everybody, I'm going to take a little break from what I've been doing for videos, which is basically focusing on the outboard motor, the Mercury 115 tower power, and I've also been kind of mixing that in with some lathe videos. I've been working on trying to level the lathe, and I think what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm probably going to make some leveling feet. I looked online, and the good quality leveling feet are kind of expensive. You know, you need feet that are strong enough to support the weight of that lathe. And so I think what I'll end up doing, I'll make something up. So that'll be a project that's coming up. What else is going on? Just scored a freebie generator with a it's a good sized generator, about an 8,000 watt generator. It's one of those kind that's on wheels. Power Gen, I think, is the name of it. It's not a name I'm familiar with. Physically, it looks like it's in great shape. It's got a 16 horsepower, I think it's a 16 horsepower Briggs & Stratton V-twin Vanguard motor on it. The motor seems to run good, but leaks a little bit of oil. But the main problem with it is it doesn't generate electricity any longer. So we'll have to do something, take a look at that, see if that's something we can fix. Didn't get much done down in the shop for about a week. Been working outside. We had a break in the weather. It was like spring here in New England, which is strange because we're only in the second week of March. But we had a heat wave, some record-breaking temps last week, and this past weekend got a brush permit. We were burning brush, doing some spring cleanup on the property. Was using the Oliver and using the loader to pick up branches, and accidentally had a branch pop up and tried to drive into the pile and ended up having a branch go right through the front grill, break the front fiberglass grill on the Oliver tractor, and puncture the radiator. So that kind of put an end to that real quick. So looks like there'll be some video coming up of me working on the Oliver yet again. I was planning on doing some Oliver videos, but I had some other things I wanted to address. I still hadn't done anything really with the brakes. I need to weld. I got a C-clamp that's been holding the dashboard together for quite a while now because I never did get around to welding the dashboard back together. It still needs an alternator and properly working charging system and wiring. And now I've got a leaking seal on one of the stabilizers. So it needed all that, and now I put a hole in the radiator. So I'm going to have some work to be done on that. What else? Well, I think that about covers all I really want to get into for the moment. One of my viewers asked for an update on the International 350 utility tractor project. For those of you who haven't checked it out, there's quite a long list of videos you can weed through there, and you will get to the end to find out that I didn't finish that project. And that is something I did want to get back to. I kept saying that what I was waiting for was a good working lathe. Well, now that I know my lathe is turning taper because it's not properly leveled, which I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and that my bearings the clearance on my bearings need to be readjusted, I'm not going to try and do anything on that steering column until that lathe is straightened out. So, seems like we're getting somewhere. I also still want to, I don't know if I mentioned it prior, but previously, I'd like to move the milling machine out of its position where it is now. Turns out that I don't have quite the room around there that I need to really use the milling machine. So I want to move it to this end of the shop somewhere, and so that's going to be a project. And then once I get it moved, I've got to take the top head apart again, at least, well, the very top part, and find out what I ended up doing to cause the low range to stop working. For those of you who haven't heard, I had a drill bit get caught, and low range no longer has any torque. I can hold the drill chuck while, if I let it go, it'll run freely, but so there's a connection, but when I hold it, it just spins. I suspect that there's a Woodruff key that's sheared in the on one of the sub pulleys for the low range. But all right, so right now what I want to do is I scored quite a nice tool find. I've actually been back a second time now, so I'm getting backed up with some nice machinist related items that I want to show you. So we'll get right into that. and I got poison ivy again. So I've been having kind of a dry spell as far as any good deals on machinist tools around here. Nothing been really popping up at the flea market. Although I did get a couple items this past weekend, but those will be coming up in a future episode. So I hadn't gotten anything in a while, and Craigslist was looking pretty weak. A lot of the stuff that's on Craigslist, it just keeps popping up over and over again. It's the same people posting the same items that they've had for sale for this, for months. They just keep renewing it. They don't care. They don't drop the price. A lot of it, getting kind of sick of searching to see for, to try and find a deal on a Kennedy toolbox and having to weed through, 5 or 6 ads that are just the same ad, and and they can't just post it once. No, they're gonna post it, then repost it without taking down the original ad, and then post it on several area Craigslist at the same time. Yeah, but I digress. Enough of my griping. So, anyways, I did see a listing came up, and I think it was Machine Shop Tools or something like that. And in the photograph, I spotted these stools. There was 2 of them, and I thought, well, that's a nice shop stool. But everything else that was listed, decent prices, but not anything that I would really be willing to drive out there for. But what ended up happening was I ended up calling because I had to do some work out that way, so I was actually going to be in that area where this sale was. And I talked to the guy, and he said, well, he actually had some other items he hadn't gotten around to listing yet. And I figured that sounded promising. So I asked him if I could come by and take a look. And sure enough, he said, yeah, no problem. And I figured, well, maybe I'll just pick up one of these stools. He had these stools, I think he had these stools advertised for $30 each or $50 for the 2. Well, when I got there, I saw the stools sitting there, and I know he had this up for a couple of weeks, and since the stools were still there, I figured nobody really came by and bought anything. So I said, well, would you take $20 for one of these stools? And he said, sure. So I said, well, I'll take one of those stools because it's just nice when I'm working down here at the workbench and I'm just looking at something or reading something. Now I got a place to sit down, rest my back because this concrete floor gets kind of tiresome. And the reality is, my wife, this past Christmas, she was nice enough to get me a stack of those interlocking cushions that you put down on a cement floor like this to give you some fatigue relief. And those actually work really well for anybody who hasn't tried one of those. And the only reason I haven't put those down yet is because I'm kind of hesitant because I'm not positive where I'm going to keep the bench yet. The bench is obviously going to have to move out of this area here. It's right in the middle of the floor. I didn't want to put them down around the milling machine because the problem over there is the swarf and the chips and everything get stuck in it. So my plan is to probably use it right near the workbench once I get the workbench set up. But for now, at least now I have some place to sit. So this is actually a pretty nice little stool. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's got adjustable legs. So I've got it adjusted to the height that I want. I'm pretty tall. This works for me. There's a little bit of roughness here. It's not perfect. It's been used. And on the back here's the sticker. And this is, I think it's Global Industrial. And got the phone number. And apparently, looks like this was July of 2011 this was manufactured. So it's a few years old. For those of you who don't know, Global Industrial is a company that I'm not even sure if they're still in business, but I know when I had my repair shop in the city, I used to get their catalogs regularly. I used to buy different shelving and stuff like that out of them, and they sell a lot of good organizing stuff. Before you could buy those little plastic bins that clip onto the metal pieces you could screw to the wall. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but before you could buy those locally at Harbor Freight, to get that kind of stuff, you had to go to a place like Global Industrial. They also sold cardboard boxes that had a shape to them that made them perfect for parts picking and stuff like that, which I had a couple of those still laying around here, but I don't see one handy to grab. But anyways, so Global Industrial's got some nice stuff. Oh, I've got workbenches from Global. I've got a maple butcher block workbench top that's on a steel workbench that I got from Global, and that was not cheap, but it can hold a lot of weight. It's really sturdy, and I actually just don't have room for it down here right now. But anyways, so $20 for the stool. I was happy right off the bat. Then I started poking around and looking at some other stuff, and let's get right to it. So the first item was this group of can't twist clamps. He actually had these advertised, and I think he had these advertised for, I think, 10 or 15 bucks a piece, even though they're all different sizes. And you know, that's not enough of a killer deal to get somebody to drive out of their way to pick them up. So these were still there when I got there, even though the ad had been up for a couple of weeks. This is a nice big one here. This is a 6D. And then there's three. Well, this is a 4.5, and then there's 3 3s, a 2-inch, and then this little itty bitty one that I can't find the size of on. This is a real little one. Still can fit in the palm of my hand. So I usually try and get these about this size here. These out here I usually try and get for $5 a piece, and I ended up getting all 7 of these for $20. So real happy with that. I already have several of these, and I haven't even done that much welding to really need them yet. But you know, the guy at the used tool store, when I tried to give him $5 a piece for some can't twist, he said nah. He says he can't keep them in stock. He says I don't know what you welders do with these things. You must eat them, because he said he just can't seem to have enough of them. Guys keep coming in and buying more. Well, so anyways, so that was the first. That was the break the ice deal there. Now, several of these items I don't honestly remember what I ended up paying for them, because they were kind of bundled together or this or that. Like these were over with the can't twist clamps, and when I initially looked at them, I kind of discounted them as not being of any interest to me, because they're not. There's no markings on them, so they're just probably. This one at least is more than likely just shop made. This one, well, I guess this one's shop made also. It's just well executed. So I've got several of these machinist clamps already. You know, how many of these do you need? I don't know. So I think I gave like $5 for a pair of these, and I think I may have even lumped in something. Could have even been this V block. And this V block, you know, it's not a pair; it's a single V block, and it's a style that's kind of unusual. And I probably would have normally passed on it, except that I happen to remember that I had one of these from some other estate, a single one of these suckers. And looking at them side by side, they are not a match. They're the same style, but they're not a match. So it turns out they're not quite a match. Matter of fact, when I hold them up, I hold them on the bench next to each other. The V's don't quite line up. Oh, I take that back. They do. So I could use those as a pair for non-critical work. And this one's really, you know, got some surface rust on it and everything. Those, and then initially I found, I think, just one of these V blocks, and the clamp was in another drawer, but then I found that this clamp fit, so I was like, oh, that's good. And then I fished around a little more. I think I'd already bought one of these in a bundle with some other stuff dirt cheap, because it was a single. And then I ended up finding this one. Actually still has a bolt in it somebody was doing something to, with the clamp on it. So this appears to be a matched pair, because they're both, they're Moore and Wright number 502s of Sheffield, England. So this is a Moore and Wright V-block set with clamps. So I didn't pay much at all for these. And one of the items I didn't end up buying was he had a Moore and Wright, like a bevel protractor with the center finder part on it, and the blade was missing, unfortunately. And when I initially was looking at it and explaining to him that that was actually a pretty nice set, that it was too bad the blade was missing, he had mentioned to me that he says he thinks he may have taken that blade home because it was an extra long one. So that's something that he might actually end up coming across. And I already have one, so I don't really need one, but it might be something I might still pick up if the price is right. So the thing with a lot of this stuff, it was the prices were really good, and that's when I can't pass up some of this stuff. So these items that he was selling were basically sourced from two things. A lot of these things were bought brand new from either MSC or Enco or one of those kind of companies. And then the other grouping of stuff was stuff that they had bought out a machine shop, and then the overflow from that machine shop they had bought up just kind of sat there in their shop for years, and they didn't use a lot of this stuff. So some of this stuff he really didn't have that much of an attachment to, and it was more like a clearing out type of thing. And then there were some items that, well, he had the price list, and he knew exactly what they had paid new for some of this stuff, even though they had some of the stuff they hadn't even used it, but they bought it. They know what they paid for it. So he was trying to get, initially he was pricing a lot of his stuff at 50% off of what they had paid because the stuff was almost new. And, well, of course, that doesn't really translate in the used market. So when I started looking at some of these, like these blocks and that, some of these newer ones, he was looking at price list, and, what he was saying for prices wasn't going to fly. And then I was looking at some of this other stuff, and so then I realized, well, maybe a package deal would be the way to go. So what I ended up doing was I ended up saying, how about putting all this together. Initially, like these three parallels right here, he thought that, quite frankly, this was just stock that was cut. But to me, it looks like it's been precision ground on these faces. So I haven't checked them yet, but they are not the same length. So that's, I think, probably the dead giveaway that this is something somebody just made up in the shop. I think they actually took the time to precision grind them. But so you get these little three packings or whatever here. Okay. Here's a pair of 1, 2, 3 blocks. Okay, that just have a hole in the middle. But these are definitely precision made. And when I thought, because I didn't find any markings on them, that these were just shop made too, he had corrected me and showed me that no, he's got the price list for these 1, 2, 3 blocks. This pair of 1, 2, 3 blocks, these actually are so nicely lapped or whatever that they practically stick to each other when you rub them, almost like gauge blocks do. And then this pair of 1, 2, 3 blocks, the classic ones with these have threaded holes in them. These they never even taken out of the oilcloth or paper or whatever. So those, okay. These here, these have a little bit of damage on them here. There's a drill bit hit something there. Still usable though, for my level of precision. There's a drill bit hit there. There's a end mill, must have hit that. Okay, but still a nice little set of parallels. A smaller set, similar to those. Okay, again, no markings on these, but clearly that's what these were made to be. Always handy to have. And then this nice big pair, almost like a trestle style or V design, or truss type of design. And to me, I'm thinking that these clearly, somebody intended to put a name here, so maybe somebody made these and then we're going to label them with their name and just never get around to doing it. But again, this is a pair. Okay. These are nice because if you have a long cylindrical piece you want to put right in here, you can do that. And we went back and forth, and I ended up giving $25 on this lot right here. which is the 3 pairs of very good condition 1, 2, 3 blocks, various styles. This stuff, and then these parallels right here. So he had a nice printer's cabinet there that he was going to keep. I think he said he's going to eventually sell it, but it's too big for my workshop and going to go for some decent money because those old printer cabinets bring all the money now. But I was looking through those drawers there, and I did find these drill bits. He had no use for these drill bits. This is nice. This is an 1 inch and 5/32 National. It's in good shape. Step shank. Here's another one. This is a Cleveland Twist Drill Company, 15/16. And I don't know what this one is. This has got a weird deal here where somebody ground out this area right here on both sides. Almost as if like to give chip clearance when they were maybe like going deep past this point into the hole and they wanted to be able to let the chips clear out. This is a 13/16 standard. So I got these drill bits. I think he threw in these little scrapers. I got a couple of these style scrapers. This must have been a popular way to make a scraper. And then I spotted this tap wrench. And this tap wrench, it's actually a nice one. This is a... Where is it? Somewhere on here. Here it is. This is BTRFLD Canada. And it's got a B and a shield. Number 10. Oh, it's a Butterfield. It's a Butterfield tap wrench. Number 10 Butterfield tap wrench. Excellent condition. Engraved with the initials of an owner who's probably long since dead and gone. Smooth action. I like the size of it. So that's what I really was going after in this pile. I probably only gave like $5 for this. I know I got some really incredibly good deals, and I think this was one of them. The tap wrench alone is well worth that, and then these were freebies. And then he had several indicator stands there, but they were the cheaper magnetic ones, like the Indian made or Chinese made, and some stands. And I said, gee, where are all your indicators? And I didn't really want any more indicators, anyways. And then he told me that he said, they had some nice indicators, and unfortunately, a previous employee, I guess, had absconded with them. So he was kind of miffed about that. So he pointed out this little box right here, and he said, well, he says, you want these? He said, you can have them. He said, since all my indicators are gone. But he thought maybe I could use them because I mentioned I had a lot of indicators. And what these are the little thread-in points for various jobs. So these all threaded onto apparently the stems of various indicators that he had. And so you got some nice little points, different things like that. So I was like, yeah, sure, for free. Can't turn that down. I'll show you some other freebies. He had a box of stuff there. He said, yeah, that's all free. So I weeded through that. Look at that. There's a little needle point on there. So I can't help but wonder whether or not a couple of these actually, yeah, that's almost like a little thumb screw, tiny one. I wonder if that'll fit that Mitutoyo that I have. So here's my first pair of Mitutoyo calipers that I bought. I've got them stowed away with the battery out for now because I'm using my other ones. But one problem with these is that they're missing a little tiny thumb screw, which I can order a new one. They are available. It's just I'm going to pay more in shipping than the actual cost of the thumb screw. Nope, that's a different thread. That's probably a metric thread in there because these are Japanese. And these are probably standard. One of these days I'm going to find one of these little things and it's going to screw in there perfect. Or maybe not. So I was searching high and searching low, looking at everything I could look at, and then I looked down underneath one of the nice workbenches that he had there, and on a lower shelf sitting underneath there, looking like it hadn't been used in quite a while, is this dividing head. And sitting right next to it on the shelf are 2 plates. And I was like, oh, that's a cute little dividing head. I kind of liked it right off the bat because it's got this angle bevel deal here. You could swivel this up. Now I've got a spin indexer, okay, and I've got a super spacer, and I've got rotary tables. So I pretty much got most of the bases covered, but I don't have a dividing head, and I think a dividing head gives you even more versatility than what you already get with the with those other items I just mentioned. So this is a Vertex Machinery Works Limited Precision Machine Tool something, and the label's kind of damaged. Not familiar with this name, so we did a quick Google and everything, try and figure out, because he hadn't advertised this, and we want to see, what the heck to get for it. So, kind of really had trouble finding anything sold on eBay. It turns out this is an import, but it's not a cheap import. I guess because of the fact that it's still a dividing head and it has to be accurate to a certain extent. These new go for quite a bit of money. So I kind of looked at it, and then when I realized that he didn't have any idea what he really wanted to get for it, we kind of put it off to the side. I stopped thinking about it. And then when we were getting down to some of the other items there, I finally went back to him. I said, would I be insulting you if I offered you $75 for that dividing head? And he said, nah. So he took my $75 for it. So I was happy. He was okay with it, because I think the thing of it was, this was one of the items that he had acquired by buying out the contents of that machine shop that had gone out of business, and I don't think he had ever used it and didn't have any plans on using it. So this is what we ended up getting. Now, this dividing head, when you buy this unit new, it comes with standard accessories. It comes with 3 plates, 1, 2, 3. So all 3 plates are here. It comes with a dead center to go down the middle here, which is not in here, but that's because there's a chuck on here. So it doesn't come with the chuck when you buy it. It comes with a dead center. It also comes standard with a tailstock. And he said he knows that the tailstock was there. And because we couldn't find it anywhere in his workshop, he now believes that what ended up happening was that they had a lathe that they had sold, and the guy who came in and bought the lathe took all the tooling and everything that was around the lathe, and he says he thinks he took that tailstock, and he actually knows the guy, so he's going to be, at some point he's going to reach out to him and ask him if he does in fact have that tailstock, and if he does, he's going to ask him to return it, and he's going to give it to me. So, because I told him, I said that'd be a nice bonus, because they sell that import tailstock by itself on eBay. I've seen them; they run around $70. So it'd be nice if I could get that. Also, on the dead center that went in there was actually a bracket that looked like, I don't know if it was attached to the center or if it clamped on, but it acted kind of like a dog plate to drive a dog, so that if you were supporting something between centers, you could put a dog on there so that it would rotate with the indexer. So it appears to work. This I don't. It's got the little arms here you can adjust, and then on this side it has 2 handles, locking handles. This locking handle is missing this little part right here is missing from this locking handle. Okay, and then not quite sure what the deal is with these bolts here. If that's like a locking bolt also, or what. I think these might be locking bolts that actually lock this from being able to tilt. These are all unlocked right now. So there you go. So that's moving around like it should. I think it could stand from some disassembly and cleaning maybe. Oh, and this chuck that's on here, this chuck is a set true, number 4651, it says. So that's actually a nice little chuck. So that was there were two items that I really were glad to get. This was one of them, and then I'll show you the other one in a moment. But so I got this. Initially, I was like, oh, maybe there's jaws missing, but then I realized these are the reversible jaws. So this isn't one of those chucks that you have to have the inner and outer jaws for. You just reverse the jaws on it. This set true chuck is made in Poland. All right, made in Poland. Yeah, set true 4651. And there's some kind of other label here, but I can't quite figure out what that is.